First bout with adversity right now. How do you dig yourselves out of it?
Yeah, I don't think we've totally figured that out yet, because if we knew, we would have done it. But I think we're in a good spot right now. We know that this adversity is just going to make us stronger in the future. Everyone's going to have ups and downs during their season. I think we've done a lot of talking and some team bonding that hopefully will fix it all, but I feel good going into the game.
What kind of team bonding?
We just chatted a lot.
Hanging out, just.
Yeah, I mean, we always hang out and stuff, but I don't know. Yeah, I guess hanging out some more.
Mm-hmm.
Aaliyah, what's kind of the route, I guess, to having some urgency right now, knowing that, the last week didn't go well, but also that there's still season left and there has been some stretches of good play. Just where's kind of the balance in that and making it a productive thing?
I mean, like you said, it is a long season, so I would say just for us not really just dwelling on the past or whatever, however you want to put it, but I think just focusing on and being as consistent as we can, starting off with the first few minutes in the game, I feel like are very important. So just working on that in practice and, I mean, just sticking together, because separating won't make it any better. So I would definitely just say being consistent through the first few minutes of the game and building up that energy so we can just carry it throughout the game. And
it seemed like the other day maybe turnovers weren't necessarily the reason for the loss against Indiana. It kind of just felt like you guys missed some shots in some areas as you guys kind of went back and reflected on the game. Is that kind of what it felt like, that maybe that loss was more of just shots didn't fall?
Yeah, I think our effort was pretty good. I think we got to be better with the scout. Like, Gerzone's a good player, but she had 5 threes. She was 5 for 5. Like, we can't give her that many if she's shooting that hot. So I think we got to be more mentally into the game. But yeah, I think our effort was really good, and we got good shots, but we got to focus on our defense some more.
Aaliyah, last month, Coach Stamp said you were pretty nervous to get your first action against Washington State. Where were you at going into your first start against Illinois?
I honestly told myself before the game, I was like, I'm surprised I'm not more nervous than I usually am. But I think it does just come with being ready. I've told Coach Jay so many times where it's like I'm just ready for whenever my name is called, whether it's from the announcer or whether it's from the staff. Like, I think that's what's helped me the most, and just being confident in what I can bring to the team. And yeah, just trusting in my teammates and that they'll be confident as well, and we'll just be together like that.
Where does that confidence come from? Because you've hit some big shots in some other important and close games and big moments. Is that just something that you've always had, or does that come from somewhere else?
I would say just knowing the work that I put in. It's like when you get in the gym, that's how you build up that confidence, because it's at the end of the day, like, if I did miss those big shots, I mean, I did miss one against Indiana, the last one, but it's whatever. But I mean, you could live with those, because like you've worked in and you've been in the gym and you've been as consistent as you can, so you can live with the misses. But when you do make it, it does just feel great.
Lucy, when you've had these conversations just about kind of assessing things, I mean, what I guess has been the tone of it? Is it, obviously frustration, but is it just like anger, upset? Hey, we're good. Just, I mean, what's kind of been the vibe when you guys have had those kind of self-assessing discussions?
Yeah, I think all the emotions come up, but I think we end up talking it through and then deciding that we all want to win. We were all in this together. We all love each other. So in the end, it's always like a good feeling coming out of it. And it could be, I mean, I feel like it's intense. Like, all right, now's the time. We got to pick it up now. We don't have a lot of time to lose. So I think all the emotions come up, but in the end, we definitely know it's all out of love, and we all want to win this together.
Overall, when you're in the locker room, is there much frustration, or is it difficult to fight frustration? Because I know you two weren't on this team last year, but not many people on this team have endured a 3-game losing streak, at least nobody that's been on the Hawkeyes the last few seasons. So is there any, is it a challenge to fight that frustration from creeping in?
Yeah, I think we all just want to win so badly, and because our shots aren't falling, like, we're all frustrated with ourselves. Like, we want to do our best we can for the team, and I don't think it's too much at each other. I think it's just Like, why are we losing? Like, we put the work in, we're working hard in practice. Let's figure this out because no one wants to be in this situation.
How far is Addie Deal away from danger out there?
I talked to the mom, and I think it's a good 40 minutes.
Okay.
So she feels, they're, of course, devastated to watch it. She
Right.
said that they mentioned a lot about just the wear and tear on the fire departments.
Sure.
But we have some recruits that are, they're okay too, but there are a couple that are dicey. Not that I've known that they have lost anything yet, but it's tough. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. All right, anybody got, Dargan, you kicking it off?
I guess I can. Obviously, it's been a tough stretch, but there's still plenty left, plenty of optimism. I know which side you lean on. Just what's kind of been finding that balance of urgency with reality.
Yeah, I think it's always urgent if you're always chasing, greatness. But I think it's really easier every day at practice, and even in the games when they're just a really good group. They really work hard. They never lose any perspective. Are they disappointed? Definitely. Do they so wish that we would be winning? Absolutely. Are they a little underconfident? Yes. But there's just different vibes on teams. I think every coach will tell you that. They just have a really good perspective, and they're fun to coach every day. So that's the thing that always gets you, going through a tough patch. And it just, when teams are predominantly young, sometimes it can really, you just ascend. It's that climb of the innocence, which we did a little bit, probably overachieved a little bit early. I think we got some breaks of the schedule was challenging. But I think some of the opponents were also putting some pieces together. At that point, we were able to put them together a little faster. Virginia Tech, take for example, they just kind of had a great win over Georgia Tech, but it took them a little while to get all those pieces together. So I think a combination of that. I think myself knowing what was ahead with who we were playing. And I think I said that when we hit Tennessee. We didn't get Tennessee. I loved our fight. When we did a great job and, beat a, really good Iowa State team. But when we played Michigan State, we didn't quite get that one. So it wasn't like I was surprised. I just knew those turnovers. I knew what I was seeing even against our practice squad, against our male practice, our guys. The pressure cookers and what we needed to do, it was a little tough sledding. So am I disappointed? Yes, but I'm not totally surprised because a lot of the most productivity right now is our youth. And if the most productivity is your youth, sometimes in those big moments, when we've had the games that we haven't won, they're young, but they're also the reason that we fought back, right? So if we get our upperclassmen playing less tight and more productive, and if our freshmen keep on their little ascension, I really do believe we're closer. And that's why it's fun to coach every day, because when it all comes together, the stretches that I do see against our practice squad, that's what gives me a lot of hope, because then it's like those aha moments.
You talk about pieces, and you've got Stolke, you've got a Fulter, you've got the third leading scorer in the nation from last year. How close, how well are the pieces fitting together? I mean, round pegs, square holes.
Yeah, I feel like we're closer. We're going to continue to try to make the adjustments that we can set people up in the best possible positions for them to showcase that their strengths. And I think that's what's been a little harder. We haven't got people consistently playing to their strengths. And I think I'd like to think that it's coming, but I feel like, we make shots in practice. Lucy, the other night, 4 for 12, that's a little uncharacteristic. She was a more high volume shooter at Villanova. I think sometimes people forget that is, she had to take a lot of those shots. And so that number isn't as high. And so that takes a little while sometimes, that shift in mentality. Hannah, we got to get Hannah, back to, hitting those, layups and shots. So, yeah, I definitely think it's closer, but I can't explain to you yet why or how or when, but I'm tweaking different places, different roles, and I believe I'm going to hit it.
You made some, just looking back at the minutes played against Indiana, it looks like you made some tough decisions with sitting some people and playing some. I mean, Taylor McCabe, I think Taylor Stremmel and Ava Hayden all played career highs for minutes. Is that something that you feel like you're maybe getting more comfortable with? I need to make some tough decisions.
Yeah. I think that the game flow, and I think the biggest thing is when you do that is how the players respond, and they were responding, and I think the people who didn't get into the game at that particular moment also responded, because that's the thing. If you're going to be able to play who's kind of hot at the moment, is the people that aren't have to kind of relinquish that. And I think that was a good step in the right direction. But I think those, Taylor McCabe she just does her job. And she's like, if you want me to come off the bench for that spark, I'm there. You want me to start, I'm there. You want me to wait till the third quarter, I'm there. And she's kind of set the tone with that. But I think that Stremlo and Hayden are consistently showing that they make a change. They make a difference. And sometimes there's mistakes that come with that, but that youth, and they're playing with just their, Taylor's IQ and Ava bounce and her athleticism. And, when you're freshmen, I can understand some of the mistakes at times. And, when you're older, the bar's a little harder or higher, that, I expect our upperclassmen to, be able to kind of toe that line a little better. So that they got their shot, and I thought they answered really beautifully.
It was a team that from the start of the season, they seem to have a lot of fun, really enjoy
Yeah.
each other, really fun-loving group. Has it been difficult at all with these last 3 losses, especially to keep that mentality alive?
Yeah.
You have to really make sure that they're focused on still having fun, having a positive energy in the locker room?
Yeah, I think, anybody, when you lose, it's not fun, right? It's not nearly as lighthearted. It's not nearly as, it's just like if you have do a couple bad stories, right? Or you have to start it over. You're mad at yourself. You're disappointed. But man, when you get your shot and your question is great, the response is great, it's just like, that's just exactly what happens in the locker room. And the difficult part is what I've been that's what I've worked on, because we're predominantly young. They haven't been there. So they can all of a sudden think, oh man, maybe we aren't that good. It's just keeping them steady and understanding that adversity is really a part of it if you handled it well. And that's the $1 million question. I think our leadership has to handle it well and know that it isn't fun, but we can still play with joy, we can still play hard, and as long as we keep trying to go through, I think that we will be just fine. But so as a coach, you kind of balance them. I'll give you an example. After the Illinois game, I was very hot and disappointed with their play. What I saw there, I just saw a little flatness for the first time. I felt like we didn't really see some moments. So the next day at practice, we had a different discussion. After Indiana, they really did battle. We closed gaps a couple of times. We just didn't turn a corner. But I saw a different type of feel. And so that's where, managing that. The Illinois performance, I thought, was much more disappointing. Just that in the end of it, we just missed so many. Our upperclassmen, young, everybody didn't take what the huddle and go out there, right, because of the pressure. So it was easier after Indiana to keep that lightness, because I love what I saw. You guys, Garzone, Chloe, and Sydney, they have been there. They've been there. They acted like they'd been there. No excuse. We could have won, but it's different. And so I had to keep that in mind. The people I was playing at the end against that, who they took South Carolina in the Sweet 16, as close as anybody took South Carolina. And I watched that game, and I was like, holy buckets. I was really, happy for them back then. I thought they could have done it. So it's just a little bit of a, you gotta take the little wins as a coach with the youth. And I thought they won a lot of things against a really vet team. But I think Indiana, they were great. They came into a hot environment, and they started not so great, and they're starting to figure it out. So I got to figure it out again.
Stamp mentioned last month that Aaliyah was pretty nervous going into the Washington State game. I asked her just now if she was nervous going into her first start, and she said she was surprised she wasn't more nervous, and that she's been pretty confident since getting into action. How does that confidence strike you?
I love Aaliyah, and that's why she got it there, because it was a smaller lineup, and trying to kind of play to the different lineups at times, or just seeing if that would have really sparked us. And we did have a better start. It was kind of our middle that we didn't, handle as well. But Aaliyah, I really love how Aaliyah plays. I like her mentality. I love her approach. And, she just didn't shoot as well that game. And she had a couple freshman moments. But I don't worry about Aaliyah. She's rock steady. And as long as when she just keeps getting more minutes and experience, I'm very confident in her leading our team. And I'm really excited about what she's going to bring at key minutes the rest of this year. But moving in with all what I'm seeing now with who we have coming in, I'm very thankful we have Aaliyah at that spot.
From your perspective, how pivotal is this next 3-game stretch? With Nebraska and 2 games.
I think if you don't want to be white knuckled, at the end of it, and putting a lot more pressure, on every other game after that, I do think it's pivotal. I think it's back against the wall for tomorrow night. I don't. What I want to see tomorrow night is us kind of playing with that rhythm a little bit more consistency of kind of the free flowing. And I think if we do that, we'll put ourselves in a better position to actually, win the game. But I'm not quite ready to say, like, man, if, we don't win, at least 2 out of 3, it's all over. I think more so I need us to start playing consistently how I know we can play to give us a really good chance to win a back and forth where you don't get down 14-16 and then come on back, and then you're putting a lot of weight on a, last minute 3 that has to go. We had 2 great looks at Illinois. Here, we were down with 4 with a minute. I can't remember exactly, but there were opportunities, but you'd work so hard. So I do think, yes, I think it's, if we kind of want to put ourselves back into a comfortable stretch heading into the end of, wanting to be in the middle to upper of that Big Ten conference, I think it is pivotal. But, I don't know if it's a must-have, gotta-have. I think it just helps us be more comfortable. Maybe you can play freer. But I think the first step I'd like to take before having to win them is I just want this group, the kids that I'm starting to play a little bit more together, they start getting a little seasoning. And if we get seasoning, then I think we can turn it.
Obviously, Nebraska just had a pretty major injury, but what did the Huskers show you on scout?
Yeah, I feel badly. She's such a great player, and Nebraska is having such a nice season. But they've, they're really good. They got Markowski. Every one of them can shoot it. And Britt Prince, we try to recruit the heck out of her. She's from Omaha, and she's, there's a lot of good freshmen in this league. But ones that are starting, they get the nod for freshman of the year. But they all shoot the 3. Britt was shooting at about 40% in regular season. She's a little lower now, but I don't suspect that would stay. They're all pushing 40%. So they got a lot of weapons. They do a lot in their secondary break. They defend really solidly. So they're. I know that hurts their depth. Allison was a really good player, and I feel badly for her on that. But they just pose a really, they're my kind of team. They got a big old post that does her job, and she rebounds. We got a board. Last year, I think we gave up 15 rebounds a game every time we played them. O-boards. So, that's a lot of second chance opportunities. So, yeah, they're just a really nice team. They do a lot of nice ball screen action a lot, use their post a lot, and they break on you with the secondary. So I'm expecting the same type of game that we usually have with those guys. It's usually a pretty close game. There's been a couple blowouts one way or the other, but I'm sure hoping for a close game and one that sees us in the win column.
How much is the message to those vets right now that, you have played a lot of good basketball for this program, and, kind of restoring that confidence that is there?
It is. It's interesting because you're the vets, but you have to remember who they were vets with. You have to remember when Sydney started in the lineup. So we consider Sydney a starter, and she was a vet, but it was basically the Big Ten tournament on. You have to remember Hannah was playing with 2 WNBA players. So their pressure is great because they're the vets. They're coming back. They're great. I was good. Well, they're learning different roles. They're the options of which they were on a team last year were 3 to 4, sometimes the 5th option. Now you're putting them in a situation where I'm trying to figure out the consistent option. So they're giving you everything they got, but and this has been the whole thing of the season. That's why you've seen a little inconsistency. It is just trying to get them in positions of which they can be successful, and then the old feelings of like, well, that worked back then. Well, there's a lot of reasons it worked back then, and I have to keep them trying to be true to who they are, and that's why I think it's so important that I tried to keep them in this season, and it's the next game and it's the next play because they're tight. They want to be what they were, not that team, but it was ease. And so now it's harder. So that's why they love it so much. They want to be so good, but it's just a different race. And so that's why you see the tightness, because I want to be that. I'm sorry, coach. And so when you're playing with a tightness, the shots are harder. The layups don't go in as well because you're playing with like so much want. And so I got to get them relaxed a little bit so they can lead and be relaxed and get the young kids just going. Because the young kids just go but I know I need that mix, and I got to keep getting the vets a little bit dropping their shoulders, but that's why I think sometimes we all, collectively folks forget, like, why isn't she playing the same? Well, it's not the same game, right? And so I think, though, with all that, every day I see we're getting a little bit closer, and I keep pushing buttons, and as a coach, I got to keep pushing the right buttons until we collectively start looking a little bit more confidently. But I do believe I'm getting close to the right buttons. I do believe that.
If I can get one more question in. You're talking about pushing the right buttons. I went through and compiled some stats, and as good as Aaliyah Grady's been this year for you guys offensively, it hasn't necessarily translated to better team performance. Have you guys thought about what that potentially means? And you talk about Hannah Stolke trying to unlock her. Have you thought about moving her back to a position where she's more comfortable?
Oh yeah, I mean it's all on the table, and I've had different timelines of how long I'm going with different things, and so yeah, I mean I think that's definitely has always been a possibility. It was almost the way it was going to be to start. So yeah, all of that is definitely part of the the equation, and yeah, I've looked at all of that stuff, and but yeah, that's a big consideration, and being considered moving forward.
How much do you look at analytics, and how much of it's just eye test and gut?
Yeah, I'm a big gut person when it's clear. Like, okay, so like the last seasons, it's like I got a feel we're going to run and it was for Kate, right? I'd just suggest that, oh, you wouldn't run this into the game. I'm only running for Caitlin. But like different times, it's like, she's hot, we're going to do this against Connecticut or whatever. Analytics might have told you something else. Now, we had our staff, we have all of that, right? Or your lineups that tell you. This year, I've studied them a lot more. And the analytics and, the plus minuses, sometimes in a game, not so much, like they can be pretty telling, but sometimes I feel like, oh, that's a little off. But the lineups, I look at that a lot now because it's so even. I mean, it's really like, if you look at the stats of the middles, like the 2s and the 3s, I mean, it's like those analytics are like, they're like, it's crazy. I mean, it might be a 61, a 62, a plus 61, a plus 62, and a plus 59 of people you're thinking like, and so that's just what they are individually. And then you put that lineup, okay, this is the lineup, pull this numbers for me. And then it's just like 70, 67, right? So it's really been fascinating. So I'm probably this year 60-40 analytics. But there's a lot of gut. I'm probably a little bit more sometimes gut. But that's been kind of crazy. It's exactly kind of, I think when I've gone to the analytics, it's kind of like, boy, it seems like, that seems like a fine line. Is there anything leading you in that other direction? But I've done more guts. And, in some of the games, you kind of go with who you feel like's flowing or trying to get our staff to hold the line on the subs.